Good morning,
Morning, Amal.
listeners, viewers. How are we doing?
Good, yourself?
Wonderful. Just changing the display at my end, clicking on here. Actually, just doing lots of different things. How are you?
Yes,
Yeah.
good. Amal, how have you been?
Yeah. How was the match?
Good. Oh, incredible. It was just an incredible atmosphere. I mean, I think we frightened Arsenal, totally frightened those young Arsenal players. They didn't know where they were. Probably haven't never experienced such a toxic environment such as that in their lives. And they just didn't come to perform, did they? So great victory for us. And hopefully we win the next game against Burnley. That would give us 49 points, and that would be the best points tally for about 7 or 8 years. And especially in line with the fact that during Steve Bruce's era and obviously Eddie Howe's first few games, with those no wins in 14 games.
Crazy.
So
that was incredible. I was like,
yeah.
It was so nice, and it's so funny to see sort of Amanda and Merdad like getting stuck in, jumping up and down. All of that. It was like it was so funny because we were just sat right behind them. Then Ant and Deck. It was it's fantastic. Great day, great result, and great atmosphere. The stadium. I've got some amazing videos of the stadium with all its glory and the flag, and the fact that it was 52,374 people. Yeah, and the capacity like that. It was at capacity, which is amazing. Anyway, good morning, listeners, viewers. You're listening to Amar and
Jeff
live on our weekly radio show on Spice FM.
Each week we bring some views, news, and 1 or 2 clues from the business world.
Asian Business Connections aims to connect, support, and promote the Asian and wider communities.
We'll be talking shop quite literally and not just corner shops. So they're looking to start a business, have an existing business, or you just want to talk business, we can help.
We can help. And we do help. Yeah. It's gosh, Jeff, it is Friday, the 20th of May. It's just crazy.
And flying, isn't it? Absolutely flying.
It was so Eurovision. Ukraine understandably won, but apparently there was incredible joy for the UK, where for the first time in a very, very long time, the UK came second.
Well, literally, that would have been first under normal circumstances.
Well, it was just because apparently the song was really, really good.
What, the Ukrainian song or the UK song?
The UK song. The UK song.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was. I remember about 4 weeks ago, I was going to place a bet on Ukraine winning because it was a given, but I just didn't get around to doing it. Should have done. Could have earned a few extra quid.
Amazing. Amazing. Job vacancies outpace unemployment for the first time.
Job vacancies.
So there's
more
job vacancies than ever.
So what? People
there's
can't
no
get
jobs.
people? There's no jobs.
Yeah.
There's more jobs than
people. Yeah, people can't get people.
But why is that then, Amar?
Well, they were talking about a number of examples, right? So one of the stories I tuned into last week was the fact that we'd imported tens of thousands of nurses, right, from Sri Lanka and India.
like Nepal and all of those kind of
Yeah,
the east,
yeah,
that
yeah,
block of people. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we've imported tens of thousands of nurses, and
Okay.
there was a question around the ethical and morality of that approach, as opposed to, for a number of reasons, people traveling. Are we taking away specialist skills from those countries? So not
Well.
just, as in Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, they all need nurses. But if everyone's leaving there to come here, that can't be a good position for that country. Naturally, for the individuals, if they're getting paid more and there's a better quality of life, then you can understand that. But it's still not ideal for those countries. Secondly, there's statistically been tens of thousands of nurses who have either left the NHS or have retired or simply didn't come back as a consequence after COVID or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of sectors. I mean, your sector, leisure and hospitality, Jaff, understandably, you had to, well, not just leisure and hospitality, travel, right? If you look at the travel sector, all of the chaos in places like Manchester, London, all of these airports, it's primarily been because they laid off all of the staff.
Yeah. I mean, I was in London during the week, Omar, and I heard an announcement that, oh, well, this particular train is not running today because we couldn't get a hold of a driver.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually made a public announcement of that, and I was just thinking, come on, surely a organization can't say that we can't run because we don't have a driver. I mean, but then these things have been happening with the lorry drivers. Remember the issues with the lorry drivers not too long ago. So
well, it was a Christmas time, wasn't it?
Yeah, is this like a new kind of a norm? Because that would never have ever, you would never ever would imagine going to a restaurant and say, well, I'm sorry, the restaurant's closed today because we don't have a chef.
Yeah, but you have that. That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, if that is what's happening, and it's not just within one industry, and it seems to be across the board, I think we're entering very, very worrying times.
Well, it is a significant concern, but there are so many restaurants and takeaways now closing, and and cafes and things like that that don't open every single day or don't open all of the hours that they potentially could because of staffing issues. And you go into more rural places and spaces like the Lake District and places where it's even more of a challenge to get staff to travel to. It's like it's horrific, and it's the same thing with the travel industry. Lots of people have left the travel industry and found alternative employment. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if Amazon's paying sort of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 pound, you've got all of these benefits, you get huge discount on goods, and there's all of this, and you know exactly what you're doing, how you're doing it. Every single day, you go there, you do your work, you come home, and you're at home, and you're not under any pressure. There's no concern. It's like, why wouldn't you do that?
Well, yeah, of course. There's. I was going to say, where are all these people moving to? They're probably moving into industries such as Amazon, and there seems to be a lot of people that are on the delivery driving world. It seems to be quite big as well because of the flexibility.
Well, the roads, what if you imagine? Yeah, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say taxis as well. It's a similar type of industry, isn't it? So I think is the shift towards those type of industries from the more conventional industries that they were involved in.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, what do these operators do then? I mean, the only way to try and balance the scales, Amar, is maybe is offer, what is it? Is it, it's got to be, some of it has to be financial, some of it has got to be development, because at the end of the day, if you do go to work in an Amazon factory, I mean, it's just, you know, yourself in that factory, whereas, I don't know, maybe you might be one that wants to develop your personality, you need to be around other people, you might want to develop your English, you might want to work under pressure. I don't know, there's so many other incentives that operators on the other side need to really think of and to try and readdress that balance, because if it continues, I think it doesn't look very healthy for the industries in the future.
No, it doesn't, and you're absolutely right. But yeah, these are the industries of the future, aren't they? So it's part of the challenge being that when we look at sort of these growth sectors, if you look at Uber or delivery, you can come on whenever you want, you can go off whenever you want. You know, you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's a flexibility, I think, that the people are enjoying. But ultimately, Amar, you have the flexibility, but I guess they can work when they want and earn as much as they feel is fit for their needs. And if they want to work crazy hours, they can work crazy hours, and if they don't have to. So I guess that's the whole benefit of it.
It's the whole sort of gig economy. It's all based on technology. You know, apparently, my wife was, well, she was in an Uber last week, and apparently the driver had sort of said, you know, Uber had sort of asked drivers to come out, and because they weren't as busy as they anticipated to be, they'd given all of the drivers who had come out an additional £50 bonus type of thing. You know, you would never get that in a traditional sort of taxi environment. And
to come out when they were busy and they didn't want to.
So Uber had sort of said, come out, can you come out during these shifts, because we're going to anticipate being busy, and they weren't as busy as they anticipated. So Uber just give them all a £50 bonus who had come out.
Okay. Wow.
And then the other thing is Uber's fees are fixed. It's like you're going to get this amount of money, you know, as soon as and you get paid as often as you want. So it's like, if you want that money going into your account every single day, at the end of every job, they'll do it. If you want it at the end of week, if the end of a month, whatever works for you, that flexible approach, you know exactly what is being deducted. So it's like 15, 20% or whatever it is that they deduct, and you're left with that. So it's crystal clear, right? How much you're going to get paid. Whereas if I was to contextualize other, or I'll give you an example of other taxi firms, right? If I want to work for a taxi firm, and I didn't have a car, I can hire their car. I then have to pay for a radio. I then have to pay for all of these things. So almost, you know, I'm sort of £300-500 in debt before I've even started driving.
I'm assuming everyone that works for Uber, though, I think they are all self-employed, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. But everyone who works for a taxi firm is self-employed.
So it's up to them to then declare what they earn and then pay the taxes on that, as opposed to Uber getting involved in any of that.
No, Uber doesn't get involved in any of that. And obviously, you'll have all of your costs and everything else deducted. So everything associated with doing that job, you're able to deduct as part of that effort. Anyway, it's a really interesting concept. So many a time I think, well, should I just get an Uber? know,
Well, I think I'm thinking the same because everyone else seems to have one. And it's like it's like trendy to have one.
Well, everyone needs one. They must be busy. I'll just that's the future. I'll then know exactly how much I'm going to earn. I then know exactly what life I can live, as opposed to worrying about bills and things like that. Anyway, let's move on to business topic of the week. The business topic of the week this week is design thinking, Jeff. We've talked about this previously, but the design thinking process. There are 5 stages in the design thinking process to follow: discover, define, develop, deliver, and test. The first stage is to find out about the user or the customer. This is where you'll sit with real customers and end users to understand their point of view and discover people's explicit and implicit needs so that you can meet those needs through design. A need is a physical, psychological, or cultural requirement of an individual or group that is missing or not met through existing solutions. Jeff, how much discovery did you do with your restaurants?
In terms of discovery of the design kind of depth of it, or?
Well, as in it's sort of just discovering, like as in the research of what it is that you're trying to do.
To do a design, before you get into the design, obviously you need a defined concept. So once your concept has been defined, you then really explore how you home in interior design, or whether it be a graphic design style, to home into that kind of concept and the story that goes with it. So you have to bring it all together. I think we've covered storytelling in the business topic of the week earlier on in the year. So really, so it's all a matter of pulling it all together. Once you can pull it all together, then you have like an amazing scheme. So again, the design goes back to the concept, and there is a lot of detailed work you can really do on design. I mean, it's endless where you want to go with it.
But it's critical, right? Because every single big business and every single any business should be exploring the whole design phase. And an example of when you design without this, what happens, right? Without that sort of understanding of who you're trying to target and that sort of feedback loop of engaging with customers. So here's an example. Can you remember the Google wearable product, Google Glass? Did you come across
Google
that?
Glass? No, I didn't.
So this was the first wearable glasses launched in 2013. The glasses allows users to take photos, send messages, and view other information such as weather and transport directions. So Google came out with these in 2013. However, however, the user needed to perform socially ungainly or inadmissible acts to be able to utilize the product, ensuring that few people would actually use the product. Finally, the glasses included a camera, which created security worries for those people around the glasses, since there was no way to know whether we're being recorded. So it was almost like a pervert type of, sort of situation. And they were like, you could tell they were Google glasses.
But Ahmad, did they not also say that you could see through people's clothes and stuff in these glasses?
No, they used to sell them in the joke shop. They were good. But yeah, obviously, no one would ever want to do that.
Well, of course.
Horrific. X-ray specs is what they were called, weren't they? You remember X-ray specs?
I could never understand how they could do something like that. I just think they were definitely from the joke shop, and it was a big joke.
Yeah, there was that. I mean, gosh, one of my favorite shops growing up was the joke shop at Marlborough Crescent. Can you remember that? It was opposite the Afghan, or
yeah,
I
it
don't
was
know whether
somewhere
the
around there.
Afghan
It
was
was
there.
somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it was an old lady, an old couple who had it. It was just, we'd go in, itchy powder, pour it down the back of like sort of, it was horrible.
They had all sorts
powder.
of stuff. Yeah, itching powder. Oh my god, yeah, they had like some crazy stuff.
Good. Anyway, business topic of the week. Define is the second stage. So the second stage is defining the problem. You need to define the problem based on what you have learned about your customers and the context. So a good problem statement should have the following traits. It should be human-centered. This requires you to frame your problem statement according to specific users, their needs, and the insights that your team has gained in the discover phase. Broad enough for creative freedom. This means that the problem statement should not focus too narrowly on a specific method regarding the implementation of the solution. The problem statement should also not list technical requirements, as this would unnecessarily restrict the team and prevent them from exploring areas that might bring unexpected value and insight to the project, and narrow enough to make it manageable. On the other hand, a problem statement such as improve the human condition is too broad and will cause team members to easily feel daunted. So a problem statement, right, Jaff, and picking up your example. So you say, right, I'm going to discover, I'm going to go and do lots of research.
Yeah.
And I want to create the most authentic, unique dining experience. So that's what I'm discovering. Where does that happen? Let's go to India, let's go to Pakistan, let's go to Bangladesh, let's go to the Himalayas, let's go to Dubai, let's go and see where people have done this. Let's talk to people who have experienced that. What was good, what wasn't. All right, I've now got a concept in my mind. Next stage is defining, right? So it's like, right, the problem or the opportunity is, what areas do we want to focus on, right? What type of food do we want to create? So when you came up with the whole smoke play, it was like, let's create something really authentic, quite unique, a distinctly different experience, and this is what we're going to do. So you were quite clear on that. And then the third stage is the whole development stage, is to develop or ideate and come up with a new creative solution. In this stage, the team should be starting to think outside of the box to identify new solution. So ideating is about inventiveness and fun. In the ideation stage, the more is better. Consequently, no thought is too fantastical, and nobody's thoughts are rejected. So this is where, like, you go, right, let's pile everything in. So going back to your example, right, you might have looked at smoke play, you might have looked at fire play, you might have looked at clay oven play, you might have looked at all of these different areas and ideas, and started to look at them in the big mix and everything else, and how might we do that? And then the fourth stage is the deliver. So after the developing and ideation stage, you then move on to the delivery stage in creating prototypes to test the feasibility of your idea. A prototype can be a sketch, model, or a cardboard box. The prototype is built to think and answer questions that get you closer to your final solution. Two common categories of prototypes used by designers include the concept prototype and the working prototype. Prototypes can include any of the following: models of your idea made of cardboard and scrap metal. So in the case of you, Jeff, how many dishes did you go through? How many sort of ingredients did you test before you came up with the best one?
Well, we did. I mean, that in itself, we had to have, again, it goes back, we had an overall story, then we had to create a food story. Yeah. And for myself, I had pushed the concept as far as I could. And when I hit a brick wall and I said to myself, right, this is beyond my own personal expertise, I can't go any further and fulfill this part of the concept and effectively the menu design and which fits into the concept. I then had to go and seek someone who could do it, and then that journey led me to finding a Michelin star Indian chef one that's the youngest ever Indian Michelin star chef in the entire world. So he then took it on board and he added so much to the whole project. And he was very, very careful and clear that, you know, that was all fitted in. So, for example, before you even create a menu, the design of the kitchen needs to be intact, because you need to know that if I want to have this dish, and this dish, I must need this kit, this piece of kit, that piece of kit. So you have to create the kitchen design first. You have a menu first. So you have the menu first. When your menu has been finalized, then you gear up the kitchen design to be in line with the menu. So again, that's another design stage that needs to be thought about in hospitality, where you just don't do the kitchen and then do the menu, because it may not work. You got to know what the menu is going to be, what the food story is going to be at such an early stage. So a good project, to do it properly, it takes a long time, because there's so many elements that you need to tie up together. So yes, we did a lot of work, but critically, it was just bringing in. It's not about thinking that yes, you know it all. It's a matter of yes, can I bring an expert in this field to help complete this part of the jigsaw? And that was one of the big decisions that we made, which worked very, very well.
And it's all about that, isn't it? Sort of going through and breaking down and better understanding all aspects.
It's just, again, I just had the topic that you've come up with, the title, you know, design thinking process. It's not just that's a very, very big area. It's just not. It could be, you know, the interior design, the graphic design, the kitchen design,
well, people
the menu design.
No, but as in sort of service design, right, Jaff, is a relatively new concept in that it's only sort of 10 years old, right? Because traditionally, design was always associated with creative, you know, sort of drawing or architectural. Like that's what people think design is associated with, is more of the creative industries and marketing and things like that. But in essence, if you think about it, every single business or organization designs something, a service or a product, and then delivers that service and a product. The design thinking is a mechanism where you identify a problem or an opportunity, you go out, you better understand the full problem and opportunity, you then explore potential solutions, you then sort of, you know, so it's almost sort of going out, then coming back in and saying, right, we're going to focus on this, right, what is the solution for this? And then going back out again, and then coming back in. So it's, you know, that's the whole purpose of design thinking, is to get you to look at the bigger picture, but to focus your attention on this whole sort of, you know, the discover, define, develop, and deliver. So discover, you know, sort of what area, what's the problem or what's the opportunity, define which area you're going to look at. So, you know, I used this as an example earlier on in the week. The 5 whys is a great methodology to help you to understand more or better about a problem or an opportunity. So, you know, Jeff, you might have a member of staff, she is always late. Right? She's always late, or she's regularly late. But she's your best member of staff.
Yeah.
Right? She's exceptional. You talk to her several times and you go, listen, you're constantly late. Why are you late? And she goes, well, I missed the bus.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you start to make the assumptions. Well, all you need to do is just get on the earlier bus, don't you? You better start getting an earlier bus. And you'd leave it there. And you go, you better not be late. And you better not be late. And whatever else, right? But it continues. But you haven't got to the cause of the issue, right? By simply accepting that she's late for the bus, you've just made a whole host of assumptions. You then go, well, why are you late for the bus? Right? And she goes, well, it's a real struggle getting out of the house, right? And you go, oh, so once again, you jump into the making assumptions. Well, just get out of the house earlier, get ready earlier. What's all that about? You know, and that's that. You then go, well, why is it so difficult to get out of the house? Well, I have to sort my mother out. And it's like, well, why do you have to sort your mother out? Because I've got caring responsibilities. So I always make sure, and we live together, and I make sure that she's safe and she's like, has got everything before I leave the house. And I can't always dictate what time her routine is going to be because she's frail and she's old and she needs a lot of care and attention. So I always get up early, or I always start trying to look after her early, but I'm really, you know, it's dependent upon how well she is and how well she's feeling. So all of a sudden, by asking these whys, you've got to the bottom of a problem, and you go, do you know what? In which case, I'm going to start your shift a little bit later. So you have the flexibility. You've then created a relationship. You've better understood a problem, and you haven't dealt with it on the face of it. You've really understood the challenge. She feels far more comfortable. She's not as stressed trying to get to work and maintain the work and everything else. Or you may go, did you know you can get some help from social services or whatever it is, where somebody can come in and sit with your mother and support your mother, which she may not have been aware of, and you've helped solve the problem like that. It's, you know, this is where the 5 whys come about, because it's really natural for us to make sort of decisions and actions and reactions based on assumptions. So as soon as somebody says something, we make this assumption, don't we?
Yeah. No, it's again, it's really, really important doing all of that, because like you said, you adjust the shift, understand the problem, and then it's kind of a happy medium for both. So I think those are the type of solutions. I'm going back to the original thing that we talked about before, business topic of the week. I think those are the kind of things that getting that flexibility and understanding the issues of individuals, I think in this climate, is probably more important than ever. I think one other thing, I don't know how much of an impact this is all having on the workforce, but I think the mental health issues, because that just seems to be a lot bigger than what it ever was, I think that's having an impact on the consistency of labor that we are able to have in the marketplace. And I think there are big levels of absenteeism or instability that is caused from this, from what I've noticed.
It is, without a doubt. Anyway, I think it's really helpful and useful to share these type of insights and these experiences and yours, particularly from an application point of view, Jeff. We're going to have Fareeha Usman joining us very shortly, the multi-award winning and our headline speaker last night at the Curry Club. Another great Curry Club, packed out. It was hosted here at the SME Centre of Excellence, and Fareeha had done a short but very concise speech during that time, and it was wonderful. And what Fareeha is doing, you know, in Northumberland is nothing short of amazing, is what it is. But before Fareeha comes on in a few minutes' time, Jeff, what's the economic outlook?
I think it's pretty dire, I'm afraid, Amal. From what I understand, the grain issue, there seems to be, there might be a food crisis that's going to hit the entire world.
Well, inflation's at 10% now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's unbelievable. It's never been like that before. I think they say officially it's 10%. I wouldn't be surprised if unofficially it was a little bit higher than that. I think obviously there's a few huge issues. India have stopped the export of wheat because they've had a bad harvest. Russia, who quite the opposite, they've had a huge harvest last year. Their stuff is just waiting to be exported, but obviously there's sanctions in A, B, C, and D against them. There's the port of Mariupol in Ukraine. I think supposedly there is like huge tons and tons of grain that could be exported, but for whatever reason, there's some beef obviously between the Russians and the Ukrainians, and that's not getting exported. All of this is putting huge pressure on the food chain supply, along with the fertilizers that can't be used for various different kind of industries, from chicken feed to A, B, C, and D. So the food prices, the inflation is coming because obviously there's a limited supply. Everything goes up, supply and demand, and A, B, C, and D. So the increase in cost of oil, in wheat, and everything associated with the fertilizers and the grains, it's just been incredible. Now, let's just hope, because of who we are as a nation, we don't get affected like other nations such as Sri Lanka. Because Sri Lanka, they're out in the streets because they can't get food. There's been a financial, economic collapse and this, that, and the other. So I think overall, it's not in a good state. But at the end of the day, we are protected of the nation that we live in because of this economic and its world position. So hopefully we won't experience
we
as much.
we are, but the challenge remains that we are impacted regardless, given the inflationary prices. Anyway, our guest is here. Let's get the amazing Fareeha Usman on right now. Oh. Do I need to?
I can see you, Fareeha. Can you hear us?
Yes. Hello. Good
Oh,
morning.
hello, Fareeha. There you are. I was looking for you.
No problem. It was amazing yesterday. So.
No, thank you. Thank you ever so much. So let me stop sharing this screen. Let me focus on you. And so let's kick off by doing that, spotlighting you, if we may, and start by saying who you are, what you do, and why do you do it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fareeha Usman. Thank you so much, Amar and Jaf, for inviting me here and to really, highlight the importance of the work that we do. It's not me who does it, so I always use how we do it. And I think I'm very delighted that through my work and through our work from the charity, we've been able to shine a light on the importance of diversity and equality and inclusion in Northumberland, where it's not a very diverse region, as you're all aware, and it's a very challenging space to even make a difference, where you need to have a balance that you're not becoming a tick box, but be really valuing and respecting the differences that we all have. Because I personally strongly believe that, yes, we're all different, but we're all equal, and that same difference binds us together. So this is, as you're aware, I think, I have set up a charity in Northumberland 3 years ago, which works to promote equality, diversity, and inclusion. But not only just that, we work a lot for digital inclusion. So during COVID, we were really, I think what I could say, we were really in a space to move and work in a digital space much more quicker than the other organizations. And I think that's such an advantage we got because we were already working in that space. In addition, we are trying to break barriers and trying to make and I think breaking barriers with meaning. Because I believe that when you give with meaning, everyone thrives. There has to be a selflessness behind the work, especially in the charity sector that we do. And without that, you are not able to achieve, and you are not taking everyone with you. Even it does not mean that everyone has to agree with you, but how you make that change and how ethical you are in bringing that, that's something I really take pride in doing it.
Amazing. So why did you set up the charity?
When we moved from London a couple of years ago, it was such a cultural shock, and it was a very big shock in various ways. And I could see that there was a lack of diversity and diverse people working in sectors, whether that's voluntary sector, whether that's tech sector, whether it's like in any job. And it was really a struggle to find a place for yourself and to really create a sense of belonging. And I thought to myself that if I am struggling, and I was really finding myself in different components. So I was different outside at work. I was different when I'm coming home. And it was just like, it was really impacting my mental health. And it has impacted because I wasn't in a position to really challenge that behavior because this area was very new. And then I could see that, and once I met a lady on a road where I could see that she had a barrier in speaking English. And the way sometimes you can really read the expressions on people's faces and how much suffocated she was feeling inside. And that really ignited me, or sparked me to really set up a charity for myself, because whatever I was doing for others, I thought I can really do it myself as well. And it's not been an easy journey to even set up a charity. I had to work in a chicken shop with all the qualifications that I have and the experience, just to make sure that we could afford the rent, because nobody was buying in of an idea of an ethnic-led charity in Northumberland, which is, again, is such a big statistic and something, a very unhealthy behavior to understand. So this is what really made me set up the charity, that I really wanted to challenge the unhealthy behaviors and patterns that run in our society. And to be very honest, if I say to set the ghost of yesteryear free, to really set free the ghosts that haunt us from our generational traumas. I don't want to live with that. And I don't want to pass it on to my children. And I do not want to see that our community suffers with that, even in today's day and age. So that's the reason.
Which is a wonderful reason, and using and having that reference point, Fareeha, that those experiences really brings to life the challenges and the reason and the why. I think it's a really big deal.
Yes.
And then tell me a bit more about, or tell us, sorry, a little bit more about what has been the highlights over the last few years.
Okay, so I think the highlights have been really amazing because I always say very openly that charity sector should be financially included. It should be seen as a strategic business. It cannot be run on donations. It cannot be run on volunteers. There has to be healthy investment being put in there, and especially with the charities who are ethnic-led, especially with the charities who struggle to access the finance because the systemic disadvantage is too much. It is very opaque for the people like us. It is not accessible. It is not. So I think we are really proud that during COVID, we have worked massively. We have worked many awards, including the Great British Entrepreneur, and really ending that year with the Asian Business Connections Award, because, it really gave me so much pleasure that came from somewhere where I belong and somewhere where our community belongs. So that was such a highlight. We also won the Census Purple Plaque. We have been going, and we've been able to turn over a huge amount of, profits. And obviously I can't say profits because we're a non-profit business, but in a lot of scale, we have been able to grow and scale in a massively very, very short time. And with a lot of recognition. What I'm really happy about is that the charity and the work we do is now recognized. People are now listening and understanding that how much this county is white, how much there is white privilege and white, it's so much white. And we coming from different communities that is not tailored to us, whether that is mental health, whether that is services that are on plate. And I must say, Amar, that there are genuine intentions of people in this county to serve the communities. But what is lacking is experience of understanding how it should be tailored, how the services should be really tailored to our needs. So I'm really proud that, yes, we work in partnership with many bigger organizations, NHS services, council services, recovery colleges, and trying to break the bias around that it's the time to change, it's the time to self-reflect. There needs to be more representation from our backgrounds in senior leadership roles. And it's not new for us, and really breaking the stereotyping. So I think we take pride in that. There's so much more to come because we are not done yet, and it's still very challenging. But I think with people like yourself and, ABC Connections, because we are very proud members of ABC Connections, and I think that has really given us a platform to have our voice heard,
which I think is wonderful. And we're equally very proud of you being a member and being women is wonderful. So tell us a little bit more, Fareeha, about the actual charity itself. What type of things do you do? Why do you do it? Where do you do it? Because you've mentioned a whole host of stakeholders, but who would come to the charity? What would they do? What support would they get?
So the charity is called Being Women, and I think if I'm still explaining why we are called Being Women, and all genders are equal, then I think the world is very far away from gender equality, because it's the time that things need to change. Women needs to be in control, and I think it's very critical for men and boys to be engaged in those conversations and be proud to even work for a charity which is led by women, or which is even called Being Women. So it's not about one gender, it's about all genders. The charity mainly works to promote equality, diversity, and inclusion, and then it comes in different sectors. So the main focus area is digital inclusion, because there's a lot of digital poverty. There is a lot of lack of digital skills in Northumberland, and that is something we are actively trying to tackle. It's open to all genders, all communities, but we take pride in being ethnic-led and working in a majority to work for the underrepresented and the marginalized group, which does form the ethnically diverse communities as well in this region. We deliver digital skills from very basic to a very advanced level, such as coding and building websites as well, and helping them to get into tech careers. And we are also a proud member of Dynamo Northeast IT Economy as well, where we help people to connect with the tech sector to get jobs, because people are highly skilled, and they should be there without being restricted by barriers. Actively, we also work for mental health and race, and we believe that it's the time that we need to bring therapy outside of the room and really tailor it to our ancestral therapies that we are used to, and that works for us. So not like what is on the plate for us, and really challenging the biases and the prejudice that runs in the society. But at the same time, the charity's main aim is to raise awareness and to build allyship and to bring the value that Northumberland needs at the moment from diverse communities that are already living in this county, but in a very ethical way. We are very proud that we have zero tolerance to racism, hate crime, and abuse, and we stand very strongly to that as well. So this is what the charity does in a nutshell. One of the major services that I want to highlight of the charity is the food app that we coded during COVID with very, very little amount of money. And we are so proud that we have crossed over 6,000 plus active users in Northumberland. We deliver over 500 boxes every week. We have 180 drivers who work with us in volunteer capacity. And we would love to scale that with a bigger investment from a tech sector and really make it from a Northumberland, based in Northumberland, be proud of Northumberland, because we can do it.
So wonderful, fantastic, well done. Tell us a little bit more about the food app.
So the food app is available on Apple and Google, and we wanted it to be named as Share Karo, which means let's share. You can download it for free. Anybody can go there, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation. It's free to all. It's open to all. People can choose their bespoke food box, such as halal food, kosher food, vegetarian, vegan, and along with an essential box, which is a baby's pack, kids pack, men's pack, women's pack. And once they place an order, they can also guide us with if there are any special instructions. And once they're buying it, so they at the end on the checkout, they can either choose to get it delivered to their doorstep within 48 hours and an emergency within 5 to 10 hours, or either they can collect it from their nearest center. One thing that we are proud, Amar, is that we do not duplicate the amazing work food banks do, because the app is coded in a way which allows you to see if there's a food bank nearby. So it will direct you to go to the food bank. And, so it is a way that we're not duplicating any meaningful work that is happening, but we are adding value to it to make it more sustainable.
And do people pay for the boxes for a year, or is there different options?
It's all free. This is a free service for the community to build fair and inclusive society. We are partnered with FareShare Northeast, FareShare Go, Bookers, JJ suppliers, and people, obviously there's a lack. There's no halal food in this region. So how do we source that? How do we bring more? And I think you are very aware with the climate issues, and after COVID, people are going vegan, people have dietary issues, people could have celiac issues. So how do they write it? So the app allows you to give us the directions of how to pack a box. And we have, as I've said, we have 180 drivers and volunteers who work in the app, and they deliver, and we deliver from Seaton up till Berwick. So that's a huge place even to cover
incredible. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
How would food places, spaces, if I think about sort of takeaways, restaurants, things like that, where they potentially have food that's going to expire or whatever it is, or they've made too much or whatever, is there an option or a function which would allow for sort of them to contribute to this system?
Oh yes, if there is somebody who has really, like, obviously if there is a function going on, if there's left food, very good quality food, and if that's fresh, they can donate it to us. And what we would do is, the way the homeless people who do not have access to warming the food, or they're looking for fresh food, or they're in an emergency, asylum seekers moving into the county, and people moving in and out, victims of DV, we pack it straight away, and that goes in the first delivery. So they can always donate, and we would know. We have all of our handlers trained to handle the food safety and how to package it. And one thing that this is noticeable is the way we pack the food is in a recyclable box. So that is not given in plastic bags. We do not provide any food in plastic. We have recyclable boxes made of recyclable material, because we are a charity, we don't have money, and we recycle and pick those boxes again to be used. So this is all safe and free to use.
Amazing.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how we raise the profile for here through ABC and the various partners, and help grow this quite significantly. It is such a critical service, and you're absolutely right. Sadly, Northumberland is the least diverse county in the UK, but has quite significant needs because of the rural aspects, the dispersed communities, etc. But what a wonderful service. And so what's the future? What does success look like for here?
We really want to go nationwide. I think we have very big ambitions to go nationwide and to really extend our services. In the food app, we are going to look for investment from tech sector to really make it a nationwide supply business. So if anyone is struggling for food 24 hours, they could be able to get a food box, a share karo box from a kiosk, whether that's Asda 24 hours or, Tesco 24 hours. And I think the aim is to build an inclusive and fair society where people are treated equally, where there are equal opportunities, and it sounds seamless, where you're not trying to do an effort to be included. I think that's what we want to do.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Thank you ever so much, Fareeha. Equally looking forward to getting you back on in a couple of weeks' time as we have the Jubilee special, sort of radio show the week after the Jubilee weekend. And I know that I was talking to Martha, and you're going to come on again and just give us a bit of an update, and we can get into a bit more detail. It'd be nice to hear a bit more around digital, recognizing that certainly a lot of our listeners on Spice FM are digitally excluded because of cultural, religious reasons, and how we may address that. But thank you ever so much. You've been wonderful. I'm your biggest fan. Rest assured.
I am your biggest fan, Amar and Jaff.
We
are all biggest fan
Jaff,
of
I
yours.
like you as well. Jaff, I like you as well.
Yeah, and Jaff, I like you as well too.
I'm not your biggest fan. I'm not your biggest fan, Jaff. Obviously, I'm Fareeha's biggest fan, and Fareeha's my biggest fan.
Rightfully so. What you're doing, Fareeha, is absolutely amazing, and congratulations, and keep it up, because we need people like yourself to do what you're doing, because it raises all of us up. So well done.
Oh, thank you. Fantastic. I look up to Amar and yourself, and in the space, because you inspire us to do more. You inspire us to create a legacy for our children. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fareeha. All the best.
Thank you.
Have a lovely weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
And that was Fareeha. What a wonderful person, Jaff.
Spice FM.
Incredible.
Spice FM.
Incredible.
Hotter.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
98.8
See you next
FM.
week.
Russia's been accused of weaponizing food and